And she goes, yeah, he told me that we didn't need a reservation at the Boulder Field. I go, oh, wow. Yeah. So we had to go down and then we came back up today. And I go, wow. I go, what are you going to do when you get down? Break up with him. And
yeah, boy.
True story.
Welcome to the Greens and Blues Sports Center Podcast. This episode, Zach's love for mountain rocks is validated. I buy a Sharpie, and we continue our conversation with Darren DMac McKee.
So it sounds like you inadvertently did Mount Spalding, but
yeah,
given your disposition, I mean, it sounds like you're a natural to maybe do some 13ers too. Have you done any 13ers?
I just find that too boring and too stupid. Like if I'm gonna, it's so funny because I guess I did Spalding by accident.
Yeah, you bagged a 13er, man. Come on,
you got to count
keep it going.
I got that one. I got Spalding. No, it's funny. I've laughed about that with some of my friends. It's like, why does it always have to be 14ers? You know, there's a lot of great 13ers out there. And I'm like, if I want a 13er, I'll just go skiing at Breckenridge. You know what I mean? Like, you know. So, I mean, does it count that I climbed Aspen Highlands? You know, it's close enough. I mean, does that count? So that's probably a little bit too. I guess my alpha male comes out about the 14ers versus the 13ers. But again, you know, if I do 2 or 3 a year, that's a great year for me. You know, again, I've got a wife and 2 kids, and you know, you want to get divorced, you know, go climb 14ers for a summer, you know, and you'll see how that goes. And let me give you a great story on that real quick. I was inspired.
Let me tell you a great story about divorce and 14ers.
Yeah,
is a good one. Who knows?
This is a great story. So my friend Paul and Scott, the guy that I did snowmass with, we did longs, and we lucked out. It was like mid-September, and the conditions it could not have been better because long can be really tricky for a million different reasons.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But we just lucked out. We started like 2-3 o'clock in the morning, whatever. Got to the Boulder Field, dry, no problems. I saw the Boulder Field, and I was like, why didn't we just camp here? Why didn't we just stay at the Boulder Field?
Yep.
And I would never, ever, ever do longs again without staying in the Boulder Field. However, I did not realize at the time you needed a reservation to stay at the Boulder Field.
Yep.
Yeah.
And when we got there, I was like, oh, this is nice, man. There's like a bathroom, and they're like, there's camps, and they're like, oh yeah, you gotta. I was talking to a couple people. Oh yeah, you gotta make a reservation. Oh, okay, all right, fine. And then we went up through the keyhole and we came around, and it was dry, guys. It was dry as a bone, and that is narrow. Once you get through the keyhole, you're like, whoa, this is man. We did have helmets on though because of loose rock, and there's a lot of people climbing up there. But it was great. Like, it was so positive. It was so awesome. It was such a great experience. And then you get up to the top, and it's like a football field up there. It's crazy. The summit is, I was like, where's the marker? I don't even know. Is it at the 50-yard line, the 35? Right. Like, where do I go for this? And there was a guy who heard me. I was on KBPI at the time, and he heard that I was going to do it. And I got a hey DMac at the top of Long's Peak, which was a riot.
That's
like,
fun.
Hey DMac, and I'm like, wow. And it was so that was such a positive thing. And then you have to go down. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the descent is whatever. And once you get past the Boulder Field, it's just, what is it, like 6 miles or whatever it is? Just
trail. Yep.
Trail, right? But still, long day. Those trails can kind of suck the joy out of your soul just walking down those trails.
Sure.
So we're walking past this young couple, the 3 of us, and the guy's like a little ahead of the girl. And I try to be pretty friendly on the trail, like chatty, especially on the descent, right? Like, hey, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah.
Oh, and everybody's happy when they're descending.
Yeah,
so it's all good, right?
Well,
except this couple,
one.
Apparently.
Here we go.
I go past, hey, to the guy, how you doing? He goes, she is pissed. And she goes, yeah. He told me that we didn't need a reservation at the Boulder Field. I go, oh, wow. Yeah. So we had to go down, and then we came back up today. And I go, wow. I go, what are you going to do when you get down? Break up with him. And
yeah, boy.
true story. What are you going to do when you get down? I was like, go to dinner, hang out, whatever, break up with him.
Oh,
And true story on that one. That's one of my favorite trails. That is my favorite trail story of all time.
oh my gosh, that's a riot.
Yeah.
Well, we have 10 rapid fire questions. We actually probably have
for it.
answered a couple of them here. I don't know, DMac, if you've mentioned yet. So our first rapid fire question, what's your favorite 14er?
Probably because of there's a lot of them for a lot of different reasons. Quandary because of the relation to 9/11, how lucky I felt. Gosh, that's a great question. Like, what's your favorite, man? Like, I've had so many great experiences. I did Elbert with my father-in-law, who I said has Parkinson's.
Yep.
And for him to be able to do a 14er in his early stages of Parkinson's, and we did Elbert together, which again is not the most complicated. It's just a long day, but that is so rewarding to do it with somebody else. That means a lot to you. That was pretty cool. I did Mount Massive right before Tim Tebow was the Broncos quarterback in training camp. They'd already drafted him. And I took a photo of myself up at the top of Mount Massive. And again, that's not the hardest one. It's just kind of a long day. However, that photo, my local newspaper, the Ipswich Chronicle, did a story on me covering Tim Tebow. That's how big Tebow was back in the day. And the photo they used of what I sent them was on me on top of Mount Massive. And it was just kind of a fun thing, to be in my local paper. So that just kind of stands out. That's just like more of a fun sort of thing.
That's cool.
Mount Sneffels was really cool in the Telluride-Ouray area.
Yeah.
It's a really neat one. And again, that's another one that you kind of roll your eyes because you can take a Jeep so far up that trail if you want. I didn't. I kind of just walked up a bit of a road. That was so fun because the terrain is crazy. I felt safe glissading down a good chunk of it on the descent.
Fun.
Yeah. And there's one move at the top of Sneffels. You got to make one move kind of around a rock there where you're exposed. No rope or anything, but it's just, kind of that moment. You know what I'm saying? Like you just have that, here we go. And then your heart's pumping a little bit.
Just make your butt pucker up just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. And you got to do it coming back down too because it's up near the top. That one kind of stands out to me too. I guess the best cliche one, what my favorite one is going to be? The next one.
All of them.
Because
the next one.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's the one that I get the most excited for is the next one.
Yep.
What's the strangest thing you've seen on a 14, other than of course the breakup that happened on
the pre-breakup?
Yeah.
Well, again, I go back to Quandary. It's the only time somebody popped out a champagne bottle at the top to pour out booze for everybody.
At 14,000 feet.
Yeah. You run into critters. I've been lucky. I haven't had any kind of like dangerous sort of things, but I've seen some moose and, the marmots. I love the marmots. It's also the goats up at the top. I guess on Wyndham and Sunlight Eolus, because there's so many goats up there. It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Like, are they dangerous? Like, are these goats dangerous or not? And I'm like, they're kind of in the path. Are they scared of me? They did not seem to be scared of me whatsoever.
Yeah.
Probably because they don't see that many humans. You know what I mean? Because they live up over 12,000 feet or whatever. So nothing too crazy, I suppose. It's always amazing to see mining shafts and construction. Like you think, like, how did this get here? That sort of thing. Another really cool one. There are some fun ones where you really can't see the summit until you're there, which is always kind of like that kind of wild moment of like discovery. Yeah. Mount of the Holy Cross is kind of like that.
Yeah.
And that's a really, really cool one. Fun story on Mount of the Holy Cross. When you're up at the top, you can look across and there's Vail, basically, the Vail area. And so my wife and two young sons, we just stayed in a hotel. I did the 14er in a day, which is a long day, Mount of the Holy Cross. And I did it from the side. You can't see the cross. But I had this moment, and some of these 14ers, some of them, depending on where they are, cell service is actually pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
And if you want to squash other people's vibes, whip out your cell phone on the summit of a 14er and just start blabbing away. And I felt a little bad about that at Holy Cross because there were probably 6 or 7 people out there and I got my cell phone, but the moment was too good. because my wife was with our 2 sons and I'm at the summit. And I said, tell the boys I can see them. She's like, oh, Dad can see you. I go, hey, boys, wave to me. And they started waving to me. I was like, oh, I can see you waving at me. And then on the descent there, I got a little bit lost. I did get a little bit lost. It is always weird that the trail looks so different on the way down than on the way up.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Holy Cross is well known for people not finding their way all the way back down.
You got to go
right?
back up after you. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's a tough one too, because that's why that's really tough, because you gotta ascend 1,000, go down 1,000, you get to that. And again, it's a little bit of a macho thing, just you read it in the guidebook, you gotta be in really good shape to do this in a day. That's me, But in all honesty, Mount of the Holy Cross, that area is so beautiful. If I were to do it again, I would bring my camping gear. I would ascend, go down, and then I would camp near that river there, which is absolutely gorgeous. That I saw a bunch of tents laid out.
You can camp by Half Moon Pass. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know, macho, whatever. So I did it in a day, and it was fine. But a lot of times, I really wish I could just hang out and stay, and I would do that again if I were ever to do it. But on the descent, it was kind of wild. I don't know how I lost it, but if you lose it on Holy Cross, it's a pretty steep cliff. Just ring over. I'm like, well, that's not right, So, but then, again, where the river is, you got to go down to go back up, right?
There's been a number of people that have got lost on Holy Cross and just could not find their way out.
Really? So there's stories of that? Yeah.
Yeah, there's stories of that. There's kind of a Bermuda Triangle for a little bit.
Oh, no kidding. I do get that. That is interesting to hear. I didn't know that. I didn't know that was a thing there. But I do kind of understand it, because the cairns aren't really, they're not really that well marked. And it's weird too, because you really can't see the summit going up that side of the ascent until you're, literally
you're
right
on it.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's not a lot of memory moments when you're going up, because it's kind of weird, because you just don't ever really quite know where you are. That's a great one though. That's one that that's another one that I'm just kind of proud that I did, because I thought it was so cool. What do they do for people that get lost? They're just, a
number of people, fair number of people have died.
Have they really? Oh,
yeah,
really?
They get lost. They can't find their way out, and just kind of fade away.
If you, oh man, that's kind of scary. Really, seriously.
Yeah. They just found at least a boot from a woman that vanished 20 something years ago on Holy Cross.
No kidding. Well, here's what I could see happening too. You could get freaked out, you could get disoriented, and then you just make a mistake, and like I said, there are
you
some
bail off on the wrong ridge or down into the wrong valley or whatever.
And don't get caught. I'm a pretty safety guy. I really do start early in the morning. I try to summit by 11 or so. I hardly ever climb in the dark unless it's like the bar trail, where it's, there's really not much to that, right? So I guess I could see it. I don't know about you guys, but when I see people ascending at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I really do wonder, but then, you can get sucked in by YouTube videos, by books, by moonlight, summits on Mount Sherman and, all that. All right, I guess, I just think it's dangerous. That's all.
And 99 times out of 100, they're fine.
99 times out of 100, you're fine, because down is down, right?
It's that one that you always worry about.
Yeah, and I think some people just don't turn back when they should. I think you have to realize what you're doing. Like Maroon Bells, I tried that over the 4th of July. That's scary. Maroon Bells, that is loose, and it is I thought for sure I'd run into somebody. And I do a lot of my climbing just assuming I'll see somebody, even if I don't hike with them, there'll be a little bit of a guide, okay, there and there. And I see where they're, what I'm saying? Something like that. I got way up on Maroon Bells near the ridgeline. It's loose and there's nobody up there on the 4th of July. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Aspen's packed. There's not a hotel room to be found. The reservations for the campsites are reserved, 12 months ahead of time. And I'm the only person up here. And I was like, oh, I don't even regret that one. That was a no-brainer. Like I've read about way too many people dying on maroon bells, a lot of people dying there.
Yep.
So that was like, oh, forget this, forget it. As pretty as that is, again, that area is gorgeous, but those 14ers in that part of the state, they really do freak me out. I don't know if you guys have done any of those in there, but those are pretty gnarly in there, I think. It's beautiful, no doubt about it, but it just feels so dangerous.
Yeah, Zach and I have done Castle and Conundrum. Otherwise, I won't touch the Elks. You won't even ever find me on them for the exact reasons you just mentioned, DMac. It's just way too crumbly, way too loose, way too dangerous. I don't trust it. So.
Well, let me ask you about a couple, like it's in the back of my head right now. And I haven't done like La Plata, and I haven't done, I don't know. I haven't even done Sherman, because that just seems boring. And I don't know I guess I'll do it at some point. But I'm kind of fascinated right now with Wilson Peak and Mount Wilson down near Telluride. I have not done that. Those are always a little bit, trickier because it's just further away. But have you guys done that? Are you kind of into those at all, or do you know anything about them?
I've done Wilson Peak, and I've attempted to ascend of El Diente.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Then turned around twice on the tooth, but Wilson's, that's one that's probably, you could do a backpack into Navajo Lake, or you could go from, I think, what's called the Rock of Ages trailhead. It's got kind of the Sneffels class 3 move where you have to kind of, at one point you have to kind of step across something, and it's fairly exposed. I mean, that part of the state is so remote. It's so beautiful.
Right.
There's a lot to speak for it, but all San Juan peaks are the rock is crappy, and they're long. So Mount Wilson is on my list. Okay. I really want to do that. So
I kind of just want to say I climbed the Coors Light can. I kind of want to just say and I don't know if many people even know that, but I do. I'm sure you guys did too. But that's, I don't see. I get fixated on things for really stupid reasons. That's
an interesting fixation, I gotta say.
that's a boutique one, right? Like how many people actually know the mountain on the Coors Light can is? Well, which one is it? Is it Mount Wilson or Wilson Peak that's on the Coors Light? It's one of those two.
It's Wilson Peak. Well, Eric, do you have another rapid fire question? They're not so rapid with the guy that does radio for a living.
Well, I can make it shorter if you want me to.
No, that's we're not racing against time or anything here. All
right.
So I got to ask. So one of our favorite things Zach and I like to do on our podcast is when we talk about a mountain that we've done and we're telling stories about. We like to talk to each other about if that mountain was a song, what song would it be? So DMac, if you were to pick a mountain and say, I have a song that describes that mountain, or just mountaineering in general in your experience, and you had to pick a song to represent it.
Mount Evans would be The Devil Went Down to Georgia.
That was too easy, though. Come on.
That one. I'm not a huge country guy necessarily with music, but Live Like You Were Dying has, I get choked up just thinking about it.
That's a great song.
Rocky Mountain Climbing. And, that kind of echoes in my brain a little bit. And again, I'm not a huge country guy or necessarily a big Tim McGraw guy, but I think that's a beautiful song. And so I think of that song quite often when I'm sort of doing what I'm doing. I don't know, man. I'm cheesy. I think of John Denver. And you're not quite back against that generation where that would have been like the reason to be in Colorado. Right. But I love it, man. That's a good question, man. Like a song for one of them. And what's another weird one is people ask me how many 14ers I've done. I don't know. And I say around 30, but then I'm like, well, can I count them? And you would think that I would. Can I show you something really stupid? So I don't know if you guys do this. I take a rock from a summit and just stick it in my pack and like, oh, that's my rock, from the summit. Here's how stupid I am. I'm going to show you right here on my desk. Like here we go. I got like 4 different rocks. Actually, there's about 7 or 8 of them here. But here's the rocks. Do you know what I forgot to do with my rocks?
Label
them.
I didn't label them.
That rock is from a great peak. I don't remember which one, but it's a good one.
Don't know, but look at it. It's kind of red. It's a little bit different.
Yeah, could be a San Juaner.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's a nice piece of granite in your hand there.
We got one right here. I don't know.
DMac, you should have just made it up. Like, this one I was on Capitol. I told you I wouldn't do Capitol, but I got this one from Capitol, and it's awesome.
So one of those could be a snowmass rock. One of those looks very much of that color.
It's so funny and you would thought I would start labeling them after, but so those are some of my 14 rocks. I have them kind of spread out around the house a little bit. I kind of cheated because I took 4 of them from Harvard, and I didn't even get to the summit of it. So, but I was intending on giving the rocks to my family. Like, you always have these very sentimental things, very deep thoughts. And then you get back down into your car and you're like, nobody cares if I give them a rock from a hike they didn't do. So down in our living room, there's 4 of them, but don't be fooled. It's just from one mountain. I didn't even summit it, but it, still kind of looks cool. So I don't know if there's any particular song, but that's some of the, I don't know, little things I do in my head.
That's I don't know. Live Like You're a Dying. I'm not a country guy at all, but that's one of the few country songs I actually like, and I think that's a great pick. I love that.
Yeah, because if like I went Rocky Mountain climbing. If you knew you had a limited time, what are things you would do?
What are you going to do? Yep.
And the reason I love the 14ers is because it is hard to do. It's not easy to do.
Yep.
And the fact that it is hard to do, I really like. Now, it's funny because there are some that are relatively close that I could probably get to. But as I've been going through them, they become more difficult because there's others out there that are really hard or sometimes really remote, like the Chicago Basin. Have you guys done Chicago Basin? Have you done those?
We haven't. That's on our list to maybe do this summer.
Maybe this year. Yep.
Well, I cannot recommend it enough, and I certainly would take your time. There's all sorts of different ways to do them, but I would highly advise you to take 4 days. Seriously, take the time, and however you want. You could rent a llama. I know you can do that up there too, but I would camp it. I would take your time and really enjoy it. To me, getting off that train is so cool. So it's just an awesome feeling when that train comes to the stop there. I forget the trailhead right there. It's in my head. I can't. No, it's not.
I think it's the Needleton station.
Yes, that's exactly it.
Yeah. Yep.
Good memory right there. Oh, you're doing a little research on it. Yes, it is the Needleton station, and it's you guys should do that this summer, man. There's 4 of them there if you count. If you count North Eolas. I don't know. I don't know if you count it or not. I did those 2. And then Wyndham and Sunlight give you some contemplations of life. What are we going to do here? So you got to think about things on those 2. Eolas isn't hard though. Eolas is pretty easy. And North Eolas is right there.
I've done the second stop on the train. So the first stop coming up from Durango is Needleton, and the second one is Oak Park.
I didn't know that. What's up that trail?
You could go, way back into the Wiminooch range there. There's a bunch of really gnarly 13ers in there. All of them are centennials, so they're all like above 13,800 feet.
Okay. Wow.
Vestal Peak. You could Google Vestal Peak and just look at the ridge on it. It's called Wham Ridge. It's pretty sweet.
Okay.
That's just a pure backpack. Like, you get back in there and it's just wild. It's probably one of the more remote areas in Colorado.
Well, for sure. Wherever you get off that train, you're into, you're into some interesting areas out there. That's for sure. Okay. Well, hey, good luck on that, boys. I highly recommend it. It was awesome. I just got a little bit of bad luck with the rain. I was fine, actually. It was no big deal.
You had family with you, though.
The family.
You got to look after people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you read the guides. It's like, get off the Needleton. It's an easy trail right to the Ranger. Blah, 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 blah. It's no big deal. It's like, all right, unless it rains for 6 straight hours, Mount Quandre, easiest thing in the world. You could do it, my grandfather did it with me, blah, 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 blah. Well, not if you're post-holing.
Not if you're post-holing in September.
Right. Everything is incredibly, but on the other end of that, I did Longs. I don't think Longs Peak could have been easier for me. And I know that's a very dangerous and can be really tricky. Never mind if you really want to, mountain climb Longs, right? There's all sorts of 5-point whatevers to mountain climb.
Tons of ways to get up it, yeah.
Right. But, so it's to each his own. I don't have like a huge, I got to do this or I got to do that. It's more like when the sort of feeling strikes me. For me, I got to get it done though by training camp. It's hard to once the Broncos season starts in late July. It's a little tricky for me. Although I did longs in September, and you can sort of sneak away to do this or that. But what I got into a lot is road biking, cycling, and this was a fun one. So I think the cycling is a little bit like the 14er stuff, a little bit like, it's very doable. It's not that complicated, but it's hard to do. And sometimes you just get something in your head. So this summer I said, I'd like to ride from Lone Tree to Aspen on my bike because I was just getting infatuated with the Tour de France. And I wanted to do it like the Tour de France, meaning like 4 to 6 hours on your bike, not like in one stretch. I'm not like an ultra that.
But still, that's a lot of time in the saddle.
It's the most I've ever done. I had never done a ride of more than 50 miles ever. And I think it's 250 miles over 4 days from Lone Tree to Aspen. And it's really 4 passes. It's Fremont Pass to Leadville, of course, Independence Pass, Loveland Pass. And here's the irony. The hardest of all those passes, unbelievably, was just to get to Idaho Springs, like in the suburbs, because I just did not know how crazy those mountains are when you're going up I-70. You don't think about it. You don't look to your left and say, well, that looks like nobody thinks like that. But those are like big ascents as you go from basically the suburbs of Morrison up into the mountains to get up and over to Idaho Springs, because I'm not going to ride my bike on I-70, obviously. So I was pretty proud of myself for doing that.
That's some training right there.
Wow.
Yeah, because a lot of 14ers are the same thing, boys. Like, you can just turn around. This is hard. I'm tired. What am I doing this for? What's wrong with me? Why do I hate my family so much that I'm doing this? You have all those moments. It's easy to turn around, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, listen, I've only turned around when I really felt like it was dangerous or whatever. But there's been a lot of moments where you mentally have to like sort of plow through when you're just like, this is just, what am I doing here? This is what, that sort of thing. And that's where I learned this. It took going through that to learn, stop, take a break. If you got something to eat, look at the sun a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like, just chill. And like marathon running and maybe distance biking, I'm going to go up to that tree. From that tree, I'm going to go up to, that bend in the road. What's around there? I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And you break it up in small chunks and, by hook or by crook, one step forward, right? And you kind of keep going. And the reward, if it wasn't hard to do, I don't think there would be any reward. I think it would be. So I shouldn't be so snobby with the 13ers, because I'm sure those are equally as hard. I'm sure they are. They may even be harder. I don't know. I probably should look into it, because it's really the beauty of the state that I'm into more than anything.
And you would find it on 13ers. I think that
I'm sure I would. I'm sure
it's
you're
worth
right.
looking into.
I will.
There are no guys wearing grizzly bear shirts and eating donuts on the top of 13ers. I can guarantee that.
Stop, Zach. You don't. I'm telling you, we're going to see it this summer. We're going to see someone hiking with a giant Iowa T-shirt.
No,
it's always like a wolf or something. Like, it's a huge wolf. And it
looks like it's airbrushed on there.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Like way over. You got it.
Well, since you mentioned training camp, this question's from Eric, but I'm still going to ask it.
Okay.
So, rapid fire question: Josh Allen or Bo Nix?
Josh Allen, but I love Bo Nix.
I like it.
That's the only right answer.
I could literally talk about that for 3 hours.
I've heard you speak on the radio about it.
I'll just give you rapid fire on that. But I like them both. But yeah, of course, Josh Allen.
In 5 years, maybe Bo Nix, but right now.
I think we're getting a little sports talky here. I think there is a crazy little bubble right now, because when you get a rookie quarterback in his first year contract, that's the cheapest he'll ever be.
Exactly.
And so that's when you can draft a corner or go after overpay in free agency.
Yeah, sign T. Higgins or whatever, yeah.
Sure. But I'll tell you this, your window is there right now in the next 3 years with Bo Nix, because you don't have to pay him. You can and it's so great to sort of get that off your plate. And I think the Broncos will be contenders. And I think it's tough for the Bills, because It's like, you're Karl Malone in the time of Michael Jordan, you're Charles Barkley.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yep.
It's just kind of bad timing that you're Josh Allen and you exist in the time of Mahomes. But the Eagles did, they didn't blitz. They brought 4 guys. They brought pressure on Mahomes. I was joking this whole year. The Chiefs are the worst undefeated team ever because they were barely winning games.
Gosh, they're by 3 points every single time. Like, their point differential was probably the worst of any division winner in the whole league.
It was ridiculous. So I think the Broncos got a great shot for the next 3 years, and I'm thrilled to see what they're going to be able to do.
Yep.
So since you work for KSE, I mean, that's essentially what the Avalanche did with when they had McKinnon on like the cheapest deal in the league for a guy that's an MVP player he was making $6 million and scoring 100 points, and they were able to build a championship around him.
Right, and that's why it's hard to, hang on to Mikko Rantanen. So what do you want?
Yep.
Do you want him just to walk away and get nothing, or can you make your team better? Hard decision, not an easy decision. I think it's probably going to work out for both teams, frankly.
I think it will too.
But I think with Netchis and Drury, I think they're good. They're good. The Avs are. Boy, we're a roller coaster with the Avs. It's the Nuggets that are looking really good right now. But the Avs will have a shot, but they have just as good of a chance to be beat as to beat anybody. So it'll be interesting when we get into the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm a huge Avalanche fan, so
I am too.
Yeah, part of the deal with Rantanen's not what you got for him; it's what it allows you to do elsewhere, right?
Do you remember the famous photo of them taking the Stanley Cup to Mount Albert? Do you remember them doing that way back in the day?
I do.
It was Albert on purpose because it's the highest. And there were like 6 guys in the Avalanche organization, and they all took turns because the Stanley Cup's kind of heavy. They really did it. They really did take the Stanley Cup up to the highest point in Colorado. How cool is that?
I think that's awesome. I didn't realize that. Wow.
Go back and look it up. There's definitely Google it, look at photos of it. It was after, I think the Avs won when they won like 2001, I believe, after they beat the Devils. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think they did it this last time around, but I believe they did I know they did in 2001 for sure. Pretty cool.
That's
pretty
really cool.
Yeah.
Well, your favorite piece of gear, what's something that you have with you on the mountain that is noteworthy or that you think is really cool?
Well, the smartest thing is to have a small shovel and toilet paper. That's the smartest thing to have on you. But that's a good question, man. Probably my hiking poles, I guess. And I know I see a lot of people not using them, but to me, again, I'm trying to do this later in my life. And so for me, just giving myself a bit of relief, especially on the descents, matters. I'm a little creaky from all the skiing, hiking, running that I've done. So most reliable, just a good pair of telescopic poles. And I've had the same poles for a long time. So it's kind of a weird thing to be bonded to, right? Your hiking poles. But every time I put my poles in the back of my in the trunk, it's always kind of like, all right, here we go.
Here we go.
Because I don't use them for anything but that. By the way, here's some irony though. I live now in a townhome near the Bluffs, Lone Tree.
Oh yeah.
And guys, you're not. This is so stupid because I do love the mountains and everything, and you'd think I'd be smart, but I'm not. I had no idea. So we bought this house, and I didn't. You can't see the Bluffs, but it's literally because I can't see through another townhome. But it's literally right in my backyard. And if you're not familiar with the Bluffs in Lone Tree, it kind of connects Lone Tree to Castle Pines.
Yep.
If you were to go far enough. And dude, it's awesome back there, man. I mean, and it's small, so it's just like little workouts. But you can definitely get in some work just hiking the trails around in the Bluffs area. And it's one of the higher points of Denver. And if nobody's ever done it, if you're at the top of the Bluffs, you can see on a nice day Pikes Peak, Blue Sky, Mount Evans, my nemesis, and Longs. It's one of the few points in the Front Range where you can see all 314ers from
panorama.
The same spot. Yeah, it's really, really cool. And I've taken my bike up Daniels Gate Park. That goes, again, that would take you to the Castle Rock area. So for me, even like my poles, I know that was a question. I've even used those a little bit just, kind of hiking around here. Highly recommended. For 14ers, frustrated 14er people that just want to get a little bit of a workout, maybe do just something a little bit different in the Front Range, highly recommend the Bluffs in the Lone Tree, Castle Pines area. You'll really enjoy it.
My family and I went, gosh, this is several years ago, but yeah, we just had so much fun tooling around up there. It's a beautiful area. And like you said, that panorama is striking.
Crazy. And kid friendly too. As long as your kids are, not whiny little babies, but like you do it, it's like something, you kind of feel it, depending on how aggressive or quick you want to do it. Probably a great thing for parents who are thinking about maybe taking their kids on a bit of a mountain adventure. Like you can just pull up in the suburbs and the trail's easy and see how your kids do. Yeah. If they can walk around the bluffs for an hour, all right, maybe they'll be all right.
That's a great call.
Yeah.
So last rapid fire question, and this doesn't have to be a DMac original, but it can be. Okay. If you had a piece of wisdom that you could extol upon us, again, whether it comes from you or whether you heard it from someone else, what would you offer up?
Take your time. It's not a race. That would be my biggest piece of advice. Take your time. It's not a race. The end. How about that for a good, quick one right there?
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love it.
And I've had to remind myself of that several times, many times. Take your time. It's not a race. That's it. Just look around, man. Take breaks. Have conversations with people you run into. There you go. Take your time. Look around.
Yeah.
Take a breath. Realize how lucky
stop and smell the roses.
Literally. Yeah. I mean, you can't do that forever because you got to get up, you got to get down. I mean, obviously, but like, I think a lot of people would be better off if they're climbing, if they would adhere to some of that advice. There's no race. Enjoy it.
Well, that's kind of why you're there, is to enjoy it. Of course you want to get to the top, but like, if you can't enjoy.
No, Eric, you're there to cross off a list, my friend. Come on.
So I'm buddies with I'm friendly. I said buddies with Aaron Ralston, and he's unbelievable, of course. And I'm reading, and I mean, of course, what he went through, of course, in the Slack Canyon and the movie and the whole thing. Okay. But you realize he's done winter ascents of all the 14ers? Winter ascents of all the 14ers.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm reading about his winter ascents. I'm like, man, this is insane. This is the craziest thing. And maybe that's it too. Maybe that's a piece of advice. We're not Aaron Ralston. We're not Carpenter running up Pikes Peak. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not that guy who passed me twice going up. We're not that guy. We ain't him. Okay. So don't pretend to be him either. Understand who you are, and be okay with that. And you'll enjoy the 14ers just as much as Aaron.
DMac, I want to see you on a moped going from Kite Lake to Quandary's Trailhead. That's what get a drone, get your GoPro, and I want to see that journey.
That's too funny, man. By the way, that is sneakily one of the coolest day trips you can do from the Front Range. Go from anywhere in the Front Range to Kite Lake. You don't even have to climb the 14ers. That, to me, you go, on 9 and go up Almond and on that road. That is, dude, that's a great place just to take a lunch. You know what I'm saying? And we've done it a couple times, and it's awesome, man. I recommend that one all the time to people like, hey, okay, try this. Look at this. Check this out. That's one of my favorite spots in the entire state because it's easy to get to, and it's really, really cool up there, I think.
Yeah. No, Kite Lake's beautiful for sure.
Yeah.
So if we kind of wrap this up with a nice, tidy bow.
Sure.
If you were to pick one or two memories on the mountain that were your fondest or your favorite, what would you pick?
Man, well, the whole what's next thing I think is significant, but probably, aside from what's next, it's probably like the last one you did, in all honesty.
Yeah.
The 9/11 one is so unique. So that's a hard one, but it's a good memory and a painful memory because the world changed. And I had a moment where the world looked perfect. And then a couple days later, the world changed forever. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's kind of a good and bad one. But it just this past June, and I only got one in this year. And like I said, it's not even close to be on my goal to climb them all. It's not. I don't think like that. I'll do them as they come. And I think, I just really remember coming down from and going up Harvard, just being on Harvard this past summer. And it was frustrating that I just didn't, because I was stupid. I mean, seriously, just hiking boots and a gaiter and I'd been fine. Okay, so that's dumb. And I do have regrets about that one. That's one that I likely will try to go back and bag, actually, because I was at so much peace. So how about just that, man? That was the last one I did. I've shared with you, I've got kind of fun memories about a lot of them. You know what I'm saying? But the most recent, I always tend to, there's always that really, really satisfying moment when I get all my gear into the truck and I kind of take my shoes off and I put the window down and you just sort of take that breath. And in a stream crossing on Mount Harvard that I recently did, and just the beauty of it up there, and the sense of accomplishment when you finally get up pretty high, even if it's before the ridge line, and you can look around and you can't see anything else. And when you get to that moment in Colorado, you can't see a road, you can't see a building because you're that far out, that remote. Pretty awesome. And I had that this summer at Mount Harvard. I did, aside from my own stupidity and frustrations about, not, I'm doing like 30 14ers and I didn't bring boots. I mean, what a moron. But but I had that sense of tranquility and peacefulness and ease with myself soulfully and physically that combined to one of my favorite memories of the entire year. And I'll tell you this, though. I've done a lot by myself because it's kind of tricky to find people that really share the same viewpoint. And by the way, I've been invited a lot to join other people, and it's no insult to you guys or anybody else. But there's something about my process, the way I like doing it, that's special to me. And it's not that I'd be opposed, but I don't like when I climb to be on somebody else's timetable. I really don't. And I don't do 14ers. If I were doing a harder one, a challenging one, I would. I would pair up because it's just better to be somebody with, again, that's got more skill than you to help you out. And you don't want to be alone. It's too dangerous. I always tell my family, like, where I'm going, what time to expect me. I don't, just goodbye, I'll see you, and that sort of thing. But I do like the solo aspect of it to a degree. And what's incredibly satisfying too, once you do it and you experience all these great things during the day, is to be at home with someone you love to just sort of remind you, scare you a little bit, exhaust you a little bit, and remind you of how special life really is here in this state.
Yeah. That's great, Aaron.
There you go. I
don't know how we could end it any better.
I call myself a poser hippie. So I ride my bike to work almost every day, but I still live in Lone Tree. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a poser hippie. How much of a hippie can I be living in Douglas County? But you're not wearing
a tie-dye T-shirt right now. We'll just make it clear.
Yeah. I'm just such a,
you're halfway there.
I'm a wannabe hippie. I'm a wannabe, sort of person. but I have, it's great to have this conversation with you guys because I think you can appreciate it. Whereas, most people that talk about the 14ers, they think we're idiots. They think we're morons. They don't get it at all. And
my daughter at one point asked me, she's like, Dad, your hobby is to wake up at 4 a.m. and beat yourself up going up a mountain? Yes,
honey.
That's what I most want to do with my life.
But how do you explain what the color red is to a blind man? So we find each other.
Yep. How do you explain what love is to someone that hasn't felt it? Or, that feeling you get when you get on that ridge or when you take your shoes off next to a creek.
I don't know. I guess I just assumed everybody would want that.
Well, DMac, this has been a pleasure. Thank you for spending some time with us.
Of course.
And for sharing all your stories. This has been a lot of fun, and we're looking forward to hearing what exploits you have this coming summer on the mountain.
I love it. I will. I'll share that as I go for sure. We'll see what the next adventure is.
Awesome.
Thanks so much, DMac. This was great.
Of course.
Well, Zach, that was a ton of fun with DMac. What are your thoughts?
I loved his stories. I just didn't really enjoy hearing the Evans and Spalding story. When he got into that, I knew exactly where he was going to go with that too.
Yeah,
I was like, he got out of the sawtooth and he's like, then I got to the top and I was like, oh, he made a wrong turn. Yep. Yeah. I thought that was great. I thought the little bit of sports talk in there, I was like, man, I would love to be on it. Like, he got into that and I was like, that's fun.
Yeah.
And I think, Eric, we may have convinced DMac to maybe do some 13ers here.
You may have done that, Zach. You may have turned him around.
He came in pretty hot against it. Like that was a bit of a hot take. Like, I don't know why people want to hike 13ers. And then by the end, you can tell he had softened up We had worked our greens and blues magic on him, and he felt the vibe like 13ers. Maybe those are a little more hardcore than the 14ers. And by the end, I was like, I think we've got a convert here.
Yeah, I think nice job, Zach. I think I don't know if we'll see him on the mountain, but we can at least maybe we'll try and catch up with him another time and see if he's actually taken 13ers up and ask him for all the stories that he's got from those mountains too.
Well, if we ever see him on the mountain, we need to recreate the Long's breakup story for him. I can be walking in front of you, and he could come up to you and you can be like, "We're breaking up by the time we get down from this. It's over."
He said London Mountain was only half a mile, but it ended up being a mile and a quarter.
This guy's such a jerk. He said no bushwhacking. There would be no willows.
There'd be no willows. That's it. Yeah. That would be the one thing.
That would be the
one thing.
That's the red line that gets crossed. If I ever tell you there's no willows and then there's willows, you're out. So yeah, a lot of fun stories. That was really keen. Had a lot of fun. I can't thank you enough, Eric, for low-key stalking Darren and getting his phone number off a random radio show. That was a heck of a get.
I appreciate that he does that he gives his cell phone number out so that random schmoes like us can text him and say, "Hey, we have this little podcast. Do you want to come on for 2 hours and chat with us?" So yeah, it was a blast. We had a lot of fun. So DMac, thanks for sharing your time with us, and thanks for sharing your stories with us and all of our listeners.
Yeah, and we'll see you on 13ers now, Darren.
We're going to be looking for, if you're ever on Spalding again, let us know. We'll meet you up there. We'll drive up the road.
Let's do a Spalding like meetup this year. Like you can come from Evans, Eric. I can come from Bierstadt. Darren can come from wherever he wants to come from, and we'll all like meet up at the very top.
Go. That'll be a lot of fun. We have a picnic. That sounds great.
Some champagne.
Yeah.
Well, Eric, if people want to get in touch with us, how can they do so?
At our email address, greensandbluespodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on our Facebook page. You can find Zach on Blue Sky at Zach Simpson. I just uploaded a new little tiny video on our YouTube channel if you want to see some of my random scribblings from our DMac interview, as well as I took a little tiny short video of a giant spider that I found on the sidewalk as I was doing a training run. So if anyone wants to see, let us know if you've ever seen a spider bigger than the one that I've posted on our video. So you can find silly stuff like that. We love hearing from our listeners. Reach out to us. Let us know your thoughts on DMac or anything else.
Thanks so much, guys, and we'll catch you on the next episode.